White supremacy has no place in 2017, and people should not have to die or be injured in order to prove that.
This is not new, but Trump has made it easier for it to come out into the open.
I think it's provoked by Trump and Trump supporters. I think it's prompted by Trump's presidency.
Émilie n'aurait jamais cru que la déferlante de l'extrême droite allait se terminer par la mort d'une jeune militante antiraciste, écrasée dans cette rue par un conducteur fanatisé.
This is where we were when it happened. I saw the bodies flying off the roof of the car, off the hood. There was blood on the street here. I was right here at the intersection when it happened. I was maybe 10 feet away. And I knew instantly when I heard the sound that it was an attack, that he was trying to kill us.
Tout a commencé avec la décision de la municipalité de déplacer 2 statues qui rendent hommage aux confédérés de la guerre de sécession, ce qui a mis en colère l'extrême droite. En attendant que la justice se prononce, elles sont recouvertes. Militante de gauche et LGBT, Émilie est inquiète.
I think it was a catalyst, a trigger for what happened, but I think that it was inevitable. We've been in this country marching towards open political violence for quite some time. There are some people that think that we're heading to another civil war. And having seen what I've seen here this summer in this very calm, beautiful town, I can't help but think that that's true.
Un an après l'élection de Donald Trump, les États-Unis seraient divisés comme au temps de la guerre de sécession. Les Américains l'appellent Civil War. Son souvenir est omniprésent, en particulier autour de Richmond, la capitale de l'État de Virginie et capitale du Sud pendant la guerre. Depuis les événements de cet été, les historiens cherchent à comprendre pourquoi une telle tension autour d'un conflit qui s'est terminé en 1865 par la défaite des États confédérés, sécessionnistes et esclavagistes.
So today it's a very challenging topic. It's a complicated topic to talk about the American Civil War in the United States today in 2017. It's become a very political topic that's still incredibly controversial, complicated, and emotional. Even though it's 150 years old, it's something where the narrative has evolved from the moment that the war ended. Our CEO at the museum likes to say that the North won the war, but the South won the narrative. There was an immediate process of trying to understand and come to terms with what this loss meant for people who had been in the Confederacy and supported the Confederacy. The war saw over 750,000 Americans, North and South, die, but it also saw the emancipation of over 4 million enslaved African American people in the United States.
C'est aussi dans l'État de Virginie que la guerre de sécession s'est terminée en avril 1865 par la reddition du général Lee qui menait les troupes confédérées du Sud au général Grant, unioniste.
The history here at Appomattox is arguably one of the most pivotal moments in our nation's history. The Civil War itself is incredibly pivotal, but this is the culminating moment when our nation's largest war comes to a point and the big questions are answered. You know, would the nation survive a civil war intact? Would that nation include slavery? Those questions are answered really here.
And he denied that food to Lee Smith. And then Custer realizes the Battle of Appomattox Station. And it's on that bridge right over
Les
there.
visiteurs aussi s'interrogent. Leur pays aurait-il vraiment pansé les plaies de cette guerre fratricide?
This scene took place over in that house over there, but it
No,
took
it
place
takes
here.
place here.
I think it's very important to come to places like this because you need to learn from history so that you don't repeat it. if it's bad.
We are so divided now. Even it makes you wonder whether we're not more divided than we were here.
It's not back in the same way, but just that there is division in our country between races, and it's an ongoing issue, but in a different way.
After such an awful tragedy with high emotion and volatility, these parks are touchstones to come back to contemplate our own history. How did we get to this point? Why is it that we're having the problem we're having now? And what can this teach us going forward? The story of Appomattox is always relevant. It's never buried history. We've noticed in our lifetimes, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
L'université de Charlottesville était jusqu'à cet été surtout connue pour son magnifique campus, classé au patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO, un endroit rêvé pour étudier. Mais derrière cette belle façade, il y a la réalité d'une université qui accueille de moins en moins de Noirs et le traumatisme d'avoir vu les groupes les plus racistes et les plus violents défiler ici même.
Tragedy and terrorism. I think it reflects the fact that America's in a racial crisis. And if anybody thought that it wasn't relevant or pertinent, they're clearly wrong. The KKK was walking on our campus a month ago.
I think that there are some that, are still, wrestling with the ghosts of our past and haven't really fully moved on. But I wouldn't say that the Civil War hasn't ended.
It's just a statue, and just a statue created so much violence and strife and just anger, and it was, pretty disturbing, and that's not what my experience at the University of Virginia or Charlottesville has been like at all.
Yeah. It was deeply upsetting.
Yeah, it was very upsetting.
Yeah. These statues, they can be put somewhere else. They can be put maybe in like a museum dedicated
field so that they have context. Because then if there's context, it's like,
I just don't think that they maybe should appear on college campuses or be glorified in public institutions,
Faut-il alors laisser ces statues qui rendent hommage aux sudistes et donc aux partisans de l'esclavage? Pour les militants du mouvement Black Lives Matter, c'est hors de question. Et face au réveil de l'extrême droite, ils se mobilisent plus que jamais.
I think that we need to decide what kind of country we are. Are we a country that believes in racial justice? Or are we a country that wants to have monuments and memorials to a white supremacist past?
Le tribunal local était appelé à juger de la légalité de la décision de la municipalité de déplacer les statues et de les recouvrir. Face aux élus, démocrates, des militants de droite qui veulent défendre la mémoire du Sud, ce qui révolte Lisa.
We are being forced to live with these racist relics every single day in our community to remind us of the power of white supremacy to revise history. It is as if the Civil War is something we are still fighting. And we have a war now between lies and truth, between fact and fantasy. And I feel we are in a very difficult moment in our country's history right now, where we are living with the resurgence of very dangerous groups that are struggling over these questions. And people want to be polite and are worried about having difficult conversations, but it's a conversation worth having.
Si la municipalité de Charlottesville a décidé d'isoler les statues, celle de Richmond s'interroge encore. Que faire avec Monument Avenue, une des attractions touristiques de la ville, une série de statues confédérées que des retraités viennent défendre tous les après-midi.
The statues are being used as a pawn to cover up the real problems of the city of Richmond.
They're trying to unfocus the issues of Richmond city schools and other problems that we have here in Richmond.
Ces monuments sont-ils la glorification d'un passé honteux ou sont-ils simplement les témoins d'une époque, le début du XXe siècle, quand ils ont été érigés? Ces défenseurs nous demandent, vous imaginez Paris sans les monuments napoléoniens? God Gatsby a été de toutes les contre-manifestations de cet été. Il se présente comme un antifa antifasciste. Il aimerait que l'on explique le message qui est derrière ces statues.
To just get rid of it is the wrong idea, but to give it the proper context is the only way this can be redeemed. What happened in Charlottesville, what happened the past few months, is that people saw that these statues are magnets for just terrible ideas, terrible people, and that we can't just sit on the side and just wait. If we don't alter the statues, if we don't do anything to them, then the problems are just going to get worse.
L'Amérique sous Trump serait devenue un pays dans lequel chaque camp se radicalise. Pour les antifas, si le système a généré un tel président, il n'y a plus rien à en attendre.
During the Trump administration, a lot of people became accelerationists, and they felt that things had to be done drastically and fast. And so that's why you see a lot more people coming out being more political, because under the Obama administration, people believed more in working with the system. And now after working so hard to try to work with the system, people feel that it's failed. And so now they're doing public demonstrations. They're just trying different options now.
À Richmond, la ségrégation est flagrante. Près de 60% de ses habitants sont noirs, beaucoup vivent dans des quartiers très pauvres où ils tentent surtout de s'en sortir. La question des statuts n'y est pas pour autant ignorée.
I believe they should be moved if we're going to move forward in what we got going on now. We're holding on to and saluting something that was devastating for black people. So if we're going to come together and be one, then it shouldn't matter.
To me personally, a Confederate statue don't really mean too much to me. I could care less, but that story is still in books. You don't see too many black statues standing around here. You don't see too many people protesting or saying we want more black statues up. You know, a statue is a statue. At the end of the day, it's stone. That person's story is still here. So I don't really see why everybody's making such a big deal about a piece of rock.
The statue should stay there. That's history. You can't change it. Everyone has a history. So let it stay there. But the deal is to move on.
Aller de l'avant en cherchant à calmer la situation, à ne pas rallumer des braises encore fumantes. Les élus réfléchissent à des solutions de compromis. Kim Gray est l'élu du quartier de Monument Avenue. Son père était noir et pourtant elle souhaite le maintien des statues.
There's a way to tell the whole story without spending millions of dollars to remove statues. They've been up for over 100 years. I think that there is a negative history associated. I think that they've become a sense of a rallying point for white supremacy. But we can change that dynamic and tell the story differently, and I think we have the power to do that and not allow our city or our country to be hijacked by people in the far left or the far right.
Avec Trump, le débat serait devenu plus difficile alors que le pays qui avait élu Barack Obama en 2008 semblait être sur le chemin d'une réconciliation avec son passé. notamment par la reconnaissance de l'histoire des Noirs de Virginie vendus comme esclaves ici même. Hannah Edwards milite pour cela.
On this one site, this is a representative site of one of the larger slave trading businesses that existed from the 1840s until the end of the Civil War. This was the second largest domestic slave trading district in the United States.
Hannah Edwards reconnaît que ces dernières années, beaucoup de progrès ont été faits. Mais il y a un paradoxe. L'élection de Trump pourrait accélérer ce mouvement de reconnaissance de l'histoire.
The country is definitely moving. Most people are now willing to look at the Civil War and look at the impact of the Civil War in terms of white supremacy more directly in the face, and to challenge it and to say that going forward, we do not want that to be a part of the social structure of our country.
Grâce à Trump, dans un sens.
You know, in a way, sure. In a way. He does, yeah, he's maybe helped sort of rip that wound open in that for the first time in a long time, people who are white supremacists and who are racist are now comfortable being open about it in a way that they haven't in a long time. That means that people who are openly anti-racist have a target and have someone they can fight. That means that the stage is set.
Si dans les villes on a plutôt voté démocrate l'an dernier, il suffit de faire quelques miles sur les autoroutes pour arriver dans cette Amérique profonde, blanche, populaire, qui a voté Trump et qui affiche son soutien à la cause des Confédérés au point de se sentir assiégé.
Well, I'm a Southern nationalist. We're in occupied territory since 1865.
Occupé par qui?
The federal government, the Yankees. What they want to do is destroy America. But, you know, a lot of us are Southern nationalists. We never stop being nationalists because the federal government is destroying our nation. Who's allowing mass immigration? Who's allowing all this destruction in this country? You see, a lot of us feel strongly for the South. You know, the lies have been told on us, you know.
Il y a pourtant la réalité de ces mouvements d'extrême droite qui se sont réveillés avec Trump et qui manifestent pour la défense des monuments confédérés avec des slogans racistes. Dans cette nébuleuse brune, il y a bien sûr le fameux Ku Klux Klan, qui a lui aussi défilé cet été à Charlottesville. Dans l'État voisin de Caroline du Nord, nous avons rendez-vous sur un parking de supermarché avec celui qui se fait appeler le Grand Wizard. Il nous demande de le suivre, nous quittons la route principale pour nous enfoncer dans la forêt et arriver au bord d'un étang. Pas de quoi être rassuré quand on connaît la sinistre réputation du mouvement. Et pourtant, la conversation avec sa femme sera très civilisée.
Proud Rebel, this is my heritage and my white culture. And I have
I think
families.
just white culture, blacks fought under the Confederate flag too. So I mean, there's a lot of African Americans who have ancestors who fought in the Civil War on the Confederate side.
Right.
Il ne laisse pas beaucoup parler sa femme, impatient de répéter son laïus sur le besoin de ségrégation aux États-Unis.
This country itself is segregated on its own will. The government is trying to enforce integration on us, but it still ain't working. The government's figuring that out. Obama said that when he left office. He said America's more segregated now than it was before he come in because, you know, it's not natural for whites or want to be around blacks. It ain't natural for blacks wanting to be around us. And you got to think about it. It's against nature's law. So I think segregation is a natural selection and it's going to continue. You know, that's why we're out here in the middle of nowhere. We chose to move here to be away from the races. Even though this town's majority black, they stay in the center of town, we stay in the country.
Et il continue à asséner ses propos contre les Juifs, les Noirs et tous les étrangers, trop heureux de l'opportunité que représente cette affaire des statues.
Alien influence is grabbed through our media. It's pushing their propaganda onto our youth. And, you know, the professors push it through their school system and onto the children. 30 years ago, you would have never heard of them wanting to rip down a Confederate monument in the South. Everybody was happy with it. When you start erasing your history and you start forgetting your past, you're going to be doomed to repeat it. So.
Nous le laissons au bord de son étang, nous avons refusé de filmer une de leurs cérémonies parce qu'ils nous demandaient de payer pour les voir avec leurs cagoules autour d'une croix en feu. Nous préférons repartir sur les chemins de la guerre de Sécession, à travers les champs de tabac de Virginie, autrefois exploités par les esclaves. Au pied de la chaîne des Appalaches, des passionnés se retrouvent pour une de ces reconstitutions d'un épisode de la guerre. Ces rassemblements historiques sont de plus en plus populaires. Les acteurs et les visiteurs sont tous blancs et pendant 2 jours, ils vont vivre là, comme au 19e siècle.
So I'm trying to help save my history and do what I can to keep our history. We don't need to delete it. We need to teach it so it don't repeat itself.
It's really just bringing history to life to allow the spectators and those who come to enjoy to see and smell and hear history come to life in front of them.
La journée commence par une cérémonie qui rassemble les confédérés et les unionistes. On peut y acheter des casseroles en fonte pour camper comme à l'époque, ou bien des drapeaux confédérés pour bien montrer son attachement au Sud et son opposition au déplacement des monuments. Le mouvement des Virginia Flaggers est très actif et sa responsable tient un discours inquiétant dans un pays qui se dit uni.
We are absolutely in a war, yes sir. Yes sir.
Une nouvelle guerre civile?
No, not where we're going to be getting out guns and fighting anybody, no. I'll say that straight up. No, sir. But in a war to preserve our heritage and our history, and really, in most respects, it's a war godly versus ungodly. These people don't want these flags flying because they are a symbol of Christianity. They're a Christian symbol, and we're a godly people, and they don't like that. They don't like looking at us and seeing what they really should be and what this country should be. And so they're trying to stifle us, but it's not in our blood is not going to be stifled. It's our ancestors fought for the right for us to honor our ancestors, and so we're going to be fighting.
Passionné par l'histoire musicale de cette époque, c'est à Mark Keenan que reviendra le mot de la fin. Comme beaucoup de citoyens, il est inquiet de la tournure prise par les événements, mais en bon américain, il garde la foi en son pays.
I do feel that people are upset today in the USA on both sides. I feel that we have a lot of sensitivity going on in current times, and I feel that people would do well to listen to each other and understand what each side is saying. And I feel the understanding would help to bring folks closer together because we have a media that likes to report extremes on both sides, and all that does is push people further and further apart rather than bring them together. You know, we have problems in our country. Every country has problems. Every country has divisions along some lines, and I think it shows the strength and the character of a nation to come together despite those differences and move forward. You know, I'm always very, very proud of my country, no matter what, no matter who's president.
I was going to run all night, I'm going to run all day. I bet my money on a bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay.
Malgré ses propos optimistes et rassurants, la réalité est que 1 an après l'élection de Donald Trump, la fracture est réelle. Les blessures de l'histoire se sont rouvertes et les fantômes de la guerre de Sécession se sont bel et bien réveillés.